Well, hello again. Awesome students, Dr. J here, excited to dive into the week one content. So before I get started, really important couple of updates. I want to make sure that you first watched that new course, new format video that I sent out. It's a real quick video just to give you a quick overview on some changes, some differences in this course compared to other courses on campus. I'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a moment. But make sure that you watch that. Make sure that you completed your day one or your start here activities. There is another video that covers that. Once you've completed or those two videos, taking care of that information, you're now prepared and ready for this video. So if you haven't taken care of that yet, go ahead and hit pause, hit stop, go back, watch those other videos, and you'll be good to go. So hopefully you know where the announcements section is. I'm going to talk you through a couple of things in the announcements. You can find those. I'm going to talk you through a couple of things like where to find those announcements and where to get to where you need to go in the class as we get into some of this stuff here. So some of this might be a little bit of a refresher for some students who've been on campus for a while, but as I've stressed a couple of times, this is a brand new course, brand new format, so it's probably helpful for all of you to pay attention to some of the things that are going on. Once you've been around campus for a while and you kind of know how to navigate things, obviously things are going to be a lot easier for you. And knowing and understanding this format, you're going to be well ahead of a lot of students on campus because just a handful of classes actually have this new format. So let's talk about some of these things here. Let's start out on the left-hand side of the course. One of the most important things that I talk about here is the help page. If you need help, hey, Dr. J, don't know what I'm doing. One of the best, easiest ways to get a question to me or to any instructor in the program is to click on the question mark, scroll down to ask your instructor a question. It'll send a message direct to me. It actually is a great way to reach out to your instructor because not only do we get the message from you, but we see very specifically what course number you're in. We teach multiple classes, so sometimes it's easy that way. Sometimes students have a slightly different name on their email than they do in the class, and this just makes it really easy. I see your actual registered name as well as the course number, so it's great to get information or questions answered. Inside the announcements section is also a welcome message for me that has my direct email address that you can reach out to me. It is, of course, at the bottom of the announcements on this page here, so you can reach out to me if you do have some questions or need direct assistance, and so keep that in mind. There's some great ways to get in touch with your instructor. Now, dive up in here into announcements, and before I mention that, you can see on top here it says recent announcements. This course and most courses will display the 3 to 5 most recent announcements that have been posted or sent out. Now, some instructors might just send 1, 2 announcements a week. Some instructors might send 4 or 5. I tend to be a little bit in the middle, but you're probably going to get a lot of announcements from me in the beginning because this course is one of a handful of classes where new students start the program. So a lot of times we have brand new students in a class for the very first time. Also, we have some changes and some nuances going on too in terms of this class, and so there is going to be a little more announcements than what's typical. I will also send out tips and insights and reflections to think about. Sometimes I'm going to encourage you to think outside of just the classroom materials in terms of making some adjustments or changes and goals, personal growth kind of stuff. And so pay attention to those, and those will help you to be successful outside of the classroom as well, and we all want that. There's some other great navigation things in here and tools, and we'll talk about some of these things, particularly grading and things of that nature next week after we have some things graded and we can actually see some examples. So be on the lookout for that. I did want to mention that the announcements tab, as this is a brand new course and just launching, there's no announcements posted yet, but as announcements are posted, you can always click on that announcements tab. You can see an archive all the way back to the beginning of class, and as I'm going to talk about some of the things as we go, I color code my announcements, put different icons in there and so forth, and so you can actually see black, for example, is week 1, then it gets brown and it changes, it evolves as we progress through the class, but the color coding is to just help you and me stay on track and see what announcements go to what week. You'll catch on as we go. You'll just see different blocks. And then, of course, there's some different icons in there. We usually give you some clues as to what that announcement's out. I encourage all students to take a look at, read, review all announcements that are going to come your way. Maybe read them twice, watch the videos that are attached to them, and if you do, you will be successful in this class, because I'm going to kind of coach you through some of the assignment submissions, some of the expectations, and so forth. So I always tell students the expectations are the same whether or not you read the materials and watch the videos. You're going to be held accountable to the same information, so make sure you're doing that. So again, watch those announcements, keep up with some of those things in the course, you'll do quite well. So let me dive in and talk about the materials for week 1 so you have some clear expectations on the assignments and so forth. Now, as you go into the class and you scroll down, again, new format for students who've been around for a little while, you're going to see that there is everything broken down by the week here, and then there are some dots, or actually some squares here on the side, some icons that as you go through that material, it's going to check it off of the list so you know where you're at for the week. So all you need to do, or all you want to do, is click on Overview. It's going to take you to this page. Now, as I talked about in some of the other videos, down below is a navigation pane. So generally speaking, you're going to just start on week 1, number 1. That's right here. This is where we're at. If I click on this, it takes me to the next page and so forth. I can go to module 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8. I can click the next button or the back button to take me to those immediate pages, whatever the case might be, just to really make it easy for you. But gang, this is super, super simple. As you just come in here, read through, you get a little overview of what to expect. You click on the next button, and it's going to talk about the readings. Now, something we've done in the class is we're going to give you a little quick snippet of what to expect in terms of the reading. It's going to be like a little pre-read or a little overview of coming attractions, so to speak. So this doesn't mean don't read this stuff. Okay, in fact, if you read this information, hopefully that inspires you to want to get to the book and want to get to those readings and make sure you get that information. But here is the assigned readings for this week. For example, Lifespan Development book, which hopefully you've already downloaded. You're going to read Chapter 1, Introduction to Lifespan Development. There's also an article in here. McLeod writes this article talking about Piaget's theory, very important theory in terms of lifespan development. I won't spoil it, but it talks about the stages of cognitive development, the brain development, so to speak, that we're going to say, here's where we're at this particular stage. So this is some good information. And then we're going to talk about nature versus nurture with an article that comes out of Psychology Today. It talks about this whole concept of, is this a genetic thing, or is this a product of our environment? And so we'll talk about some of these things this week. Now, gang, here's the thing that I really, really want to stress for this and every class, and you're going to see greatly in this class, it's really ingrained. If you do the readings, i.e. read this stuff, not only are you going to maximize your success in terms of learning the materials and know the things that you should know as you progress through the class, but you're also going to find it very easy to do the discussions and the assignments for the week, okay? Kind of simple, right? Do the readings, you're going to learn, and you're going to be able to easily do the assignments, okay? So you're occasionally going to do some outside research, and that's fine, but you don't necessarily have to do copious amounts of outside research in a lot of cases. You can actually just do the readings and address the discussion posts and the assignment and so on. Okay, so again, I'll talk about some of this stuff as we go. So you're going to go ahead and hit next down here at the bottom. And again, I just have tabs open for simplicity for this demo. So again, we're going to talk about some things related to different developmental theories. Now this week on the assignment, it is going to specifically address some types of different theories or different thoughts or schools of developmental psychology, and so this is some things that are just going to directly apply to that assignment, different research methods and so forth. But this is a lot of great information as well as some practice activities that you can explore and learn a little bit more about some of these things or some of these concepts. Okay, so again, go through this material. This should not take you too long. I know some folks are sitting there right now going, oh my gosh, he has these huge expectations to read all these things. A couple of things I can tell you and assure you, this is on the low end in terms of reading and in some of the coursework that you'll have moving forward as you get into some of the 300 and 400 level classes. There certainly is higher expectations, number one, but number two, this reading is not very dense, and so as you're going through this material, in some cases you're going to be skimming through some sections too, but you're going to be learning about lifespan development, where we're going to start in the very beginning with the fetus and kind of go through development. It's going to take you through in a way that's really easy to understand this information. Okay, gang? So this is a great way to get on track for success. Hit the next button and you're going to go to the discussion page. Now, this is something really important. Again, I can't stress this enough. For returning students as well as new students, pay attention to these things. So a quick tip that I'm going to give you for this in every class in the program, every school you ever attend, read all instructions twice. Okay, everybody repeat after me. I will read all instructions twice. And say it again, I will read all instructions twice, to make sure that you really heard that you should read all instructions twice. And I'll tell you why. One of the biggest things that kind of pains me sometimes is when I see that it's obvious that the student didn't read and follow the directions, and thus they got a lower grade because of that, because they didn't include something that they should have easily included, or they just didn't make one of the requirements, or there was 3 questions and they only answered 2. You know what I mean? They just didn't follow all the requirements. And I think part of this stems from maybe students kind of go in, they hear this video and they go, okay, I know what it's talking about, and so I'm just going to go in and answer the question. No, I want you to read through all of this information at least twice. Now, I'm going to start with the requirements here first, because the requirements have changed from prior classes, and so that is one thing that I really want to stress, but I want to make it clear to you all what the expectations are in terms of discussion posts. Okay, so your initial discussion post is going to be at least 300 words in total. Okay, you want to address all the prompt questions, and you want to have that main post posted to the wall by Wednesday night. Now, anybody who's panicking right now, stop it, take a breath. It's going to be okay. It's not as overwhelming or as intimidating as it sounds. Okay, but main post by Wednesday night, at least 300 words. Okay. You also have to, sometime between now, Monday, and Sunday night at 11:59 p.m., you need to reply, put some words to the page and give some kind of response to at least 2 of your peers. Those have to be at least 75 words. Okay. You can reply to me, and there's some interactions and things like that, but just make sure you've replied to at least 2 students. You should not post more than 2 times in one day. And just to clarify what that means, if you want to go and post 3 or 4 people, that's okay, you can do that. You have to be active on the discussion board on at least 2 separate days. So let's say you do your main post on Monday and you do 1 reply. On Tuesday, you're going to come in and do a second reply. You've posted on 2 different days. Okay, so that's one example. Another example might be you do your main post on Monday, you do both your replies on Tuesday, and off you go. Okay, so either way. By the way, a good tip that I'd always encourage you to do, unless you're the very first student that week posting on the board, there is obviously going to be at least 1 other student there, right? If you're the second one and on, there's going to be students that you can reply to. So when you do a main post, do a reply at the same time, or shortly thereafter. Okay, so you have your main post and half of the other assignment done and out of the way, and that's usually, in most every case, going to be before the deadline on Wednesday, and then you can just do a quick reply on Thursday and be done. But do your stuff earlier in the week. Make a goal to get these done by Tuesday night each week with your replies done by Wednesday. You'll thank me later. If you develop that habit, you'll be happy you did because you'll get this stuff out of the way. Now, let's talk about what we're going to be writing about, okay? This, for some students, is going to be a little bit different. Had to put my glasses on to make sure I was on track, but you want to read through this information a couple of times so you have a good understanding of this. But this is talking about understanding some challenges that one of your patients might be going in through as we talk about some of these things. 35-year-old admitted the patient, long-term alcohol use during your assessment. Patient grew up in a household where alcohol abuse was common, experienced a significant amount of childhood trauma, family history of addiction, multiple DUIs. Okay, you guys understand where I'm going with this. I want you to read through all the information so you got a little general understanding of what the expectations are here, okay? Or what the background is, rather. Then, here's what you're going to write about, okay? Take a clear position on whether you believe nature, nurture, or a combination of both plays a greater role in the patient's situation, and explain your reasoning. Now, where are you going to draw on this information from? If you remember back in, I don't know, 1, 2, just a couple of pages back, Nature versus Nurture, an article from Psychology Today. So I bring this up because you can easily get a lot of good information right from the readings. Do the readings first, then tackle this discussion, okay? Reference at least one concept or theory from the module readings to support your response, okay? Where is that information going to come from? Well, for starters, we talked about some of it right here, and it is also in the textbook, okay? So again, gang, you don't have to make this too difficult. This is information that's right in front of you. If you do the reading, you're going to be right on track. Reflect genuinely on how knowing the patient's background influences your approach to their case and future as a nurse. Address how cultural perspectives, whether your own or those of others, might shape the way a nurse views and responds to this patient. So you might see this patient as different culturally. I'm just going to leave that out there, okay? It can go any direction you want. This is a safe, supportive, educational environment, gang, so we're all respectful of one another, but some thoughts or ideas might come up for you based upon something related to some type of diversity. I don't know how to make it any more generic than that, right? So you can be talking about skin color, you can be talking about male versus female, you can be talking about age, any types of issues that might come up for you. Hopefully some of these things came up in the readings, and that was just a really easy extension of that, okay? Then again, go down, read through. You want to read through these a couple of times. These are not going to change. These are going to be the same rules to the discussion every single week. So read these through a couple of times in week 1 and you should be good to go. But make sure you're clear on the expectation. Now, for the most part, you are not going to see my main post at the top of the page, okay? The first couple of posts, the intro posts and things like that, I set the course up and lock it so it goes in order of the time that people posted. After that, what happens is the most recent student who posted will be on top and everybody moves down. Thus, my post will ultimately move to the bottom of the course. That is okay, but here is a tip that I want to give you for not just my class, for every class in the program. All instructors, I take that back, not all instructors, but most all instructors, most courses are going to write a main post. Our post is not directly addressing the questions, although we do talk about some things related to it, but we most often provide resources or additional information. And I just realized I need to put some hyperlinks in there. I think there's some things I left out, but I will correct that. But you want to go down, find my post, which will always be at the bottom of the page. Read through that information. You're going to get a head start, if you will, on the discussion board, okay? Write a discussion post and post that to the board. Again, it is due by Wednesday night. Just make sure you meet all those other requirements as well. And again, I strongly encourage you to get discussions done by Tuesday night each week. Just make a plan, put it in your planner, write my discussions on Monday, start with your readings, Monday, Tuesday, get the readings done, write your main post discussion and post that by Tuesday night. And then you can do your replies by Wednesday, and that's out of the way. And by the way, as you do those readings, you're going to totally be on track for the assignment, okay? So let me talk about the assignment. As you get to the assignment page, you're going to see something like this. There's some information in here in terms of APA formatting if you need some help with that. But you're going to click on that link and you'll be able to download the worksheet, okay? So when you get to this page, you're going to see it's going to load and pop up in this window. All you need to do is click this link right here and it will download to your computer and you can complete the assignment on the form, on the template, on your computer. Okay, super simple, gang. Every student should have access to Microsoft Office 365. It's free and available to all students. If you need some help with that, reach out to your advisor. Actually, I know that that's part of the setup process. Maybe you didn't get something, or maybe you didn't have access to something immediately, but you can get access to the Microsoft Office. It is by far the best tool that you can use for all assignments in this and most every course assignment throughout the entire program. Okay, so always keep that in mind. Using things like Word will always be to your advantage. PowerPoint will always be to your advantage. I know there's some great tools out there, and sometimes students like using other tools, but these tools are highly utilized in every business place, so it's only to your benefit to know how to use these tools efficiently. If you know how to use them efficiently as a student, it will help you to easily do your assignments. I'm going to do a lot of demo and explanations and things like PowerPoint. And if you just do your presentations, for example, in PowerPoint, it'll be probably a lot easier for you. So always choose easy. That makes sense, right? Okay, so you're going to get this, download this, open this up, make sure and read through this. How many times? Twice, right? We read through all instructions twice so we understand what the expectations are. And then you're going to provide a response to each one of these. It's generally about 100 words for each one of these. You're going to talk about cognitive theory, social learning theory, social-cultural theory, etc. You're going to talk about what these things are, provide a little summary, make sure you reference, provide a citation of where that information came from, provide your reference at the bottom. Now down below, you're going to address these two questions, okay? So assignments like this, in general, sometimes I'm going to give you some coaching, gang. It's just like, in general, do this, and you know, it'll go a little easier for you in your class. Select two theories that are most relevant to nursing practice. Explain how each theory could influence how nurses assess, communicate, and/or develop care plan for patients, how a patient's age, background, development shapes your approach, etc. Okay, so you're going to write about a paragraph talking about what each one of these, I think it's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it is 7 because the first one's answered for you. You're going to talk about what each one of these theories mean, okay? So you have a good solid understanding of this. Then you're going to pick two that you feel is most relevant to nursing and explain and answer some of these questions, okay? So when it says two theories, think in terms of two short paragraphs, okay? Each response should be 150 to 200 words. I want you to always think about it in these respects too. If it says 150 to 200 words, your submission should be 200 plus. Not 147, just barely counting, 146, 147, 48, 49, well, 150, I can put a period on there and stop writing. Because as an instructor, I'll tell you, sometimes students do that, and as I'm reading, it feels like they did that, just abruptly stop. But it's maybe not enough depth or understanding, and 150 to 200 words is really not a big expectation. You're going to find out. It is a short paragraph. This is 55 words here. So it is about this much worth of content, okay? 5 sentences is generally considered to be a solid paragraph. It's about what you're doing. So if you did maybe 3 or 4 sentences about 2 different theories, you're probably going to come in at about 200 words, and you'll have some good information about 2 different things, okay? Select 2 developmental theories and explain how a nurse or health professional can use a theory to better understand their patient's behavior and adjust their approach to care. Okay, so understanding some stuff that happened in terms of development, what's going on, how might some of these factors or cultural backgrounds, upbringing, changing the past, developmental, explain their resistance, etc. So when you have some of these things come up, as a nurse, you're already starting to think about these things as a student, right? This is going to sharpen your critical thinking skills, but start thinking about these things. And as I talked about 2 different ones, just write a brief paragraph about each one. Now, you could write a bigger paragraph and have 2 of them covered in 1 paragraph. That's fine too, but just say make it simple, choose easy, okay? And then put some information and kind of summarize some of that stuff that's going in there. Provide some references, okay, to at least 2 credible sources. Okay, we've got the textbook, right? There's probably also something else that you read. If not, you can find some information, do a little bit of research, find some good information on that. You'd be good to go. One last thing is the summary, a little recap. Here's a couple of additional resources for you to find some good information, such as Simple Psychology, American Psychological Association, APA website, and so on. Give you some good resources to find some materials out there to help you address some of these questions if needed. And gang, that's it for the week. Next week will be a little bit shorter, I promise. Week 1 is always a little bit longer than the rest of the weeks, but certainly if you have some questions or anything comes up, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to support your success. But as I tell students all the time, it's on you to reach out to me. I don't have the luxury of seeing you in my class with that deer in the headlights look on your face. You have to let me know if something's coming up or you're struggling. So make sure and do that. Hit that question mark button. Send me a question through that portal, or certainly just send me an email direct. I'll be happy to answer your questions. So I hope this video helped to get you on track. Pay attention to these videos and updates each week because they will absolutely support your success. As I tell students sometimes, it's pretty hard to not do well if you just read the materials, watch the videos, listen for the updates, watch for the updates, you'll be good to go. So let me know if anything comes up. Looking forward to interacting with you in the discussion board. Dr. J here. Have a fantastic week.